Samuel, delighted to be back at JA Resorts. Great to be here. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me here. And thank you for being part of this podcast. Really excited to be a part of it. And welcome back to JA the Resort.
Yeah, listen, I'm delighted to be back again. Samuel, you're the Quality Assurance Manager for the cluster for the group. Is that correct?
Not for the group, for JA the Resort, which looks after 3 properties here on site, including JA Sports Center and JA Shooting Club.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Listen, I think for the listeners and anyone who's watching it, it'd be great to firstly just get a background on you personally, maybe your experience in the hospitality space, what you've been doing over the last number of years, and then we can maybe move on to JA Resorts.
All right. Thank you very much. For me, hospitality started in 2009, 12 years ago. I came into this country basically in a position as a telephone operator. Started at this very place where we are in Jebel Ali Golf Resort back then. We have since then rebranded to JA the Resort. Jebel Ali Golf Resort is our flagship property. We are actually celebrating 40 years this year. So it's a milestone for us. So over my period of time with the JA Resorts and Hotels, I have basically transitioned into different positions. So I've worked in front office, and then after moving from front office for 3 years, I moved into a corporate role where I was actually coordinating business excellence related activities and initiatives and tasks that were handed over to me. So for me, it's been a journey. I've been self-developing in different positions again from there, from corporate office where I was for about 7 years. Again, a decision was taken by our leadership here in JA the Resort after the amount of work that I've done in corporate office. They thought it's best to set up a quality office here at the resort and mainly focus on developing and managing quality from a resort perspective, where we have 3 properties, where I'm pretty sure you're familiar. We have about 795 room keys to look after, and over 40 experiences and 25 restaurants and outlets, including a JA Sports Center and JA Shooting Club. So it's a very big operation to look after, and the focus was for us to set up an office here that would actually enable us to be able to gel in with the team, and so that they can be able to have a better outreach and a better communication where, we are just here on site and they don't need to go to corporate office to reach to us. So
amazing.
That was the story, yeah.
And firstly, congrats. I think secondly, this shows what I, call the wonderful world of hospitality, and as a career, as you can come, at any starting role across a hotel, and you can, if you work hard and you put the hours in, you can grow up the ranks to any position you want. And I think hospitality has so many varied opportunities for someone to come in and see it as a career. It's not just the service, right? Like people think outside of hospitality industry, it might just be about F&B or the bar, but you've experienced so much, right?
Hospitality is broad, it's big. Basically, you have very many departments where you can actually self-develop into. For me, I particularly chose business excellence related to quality because of the fact that I am able to work very closely with all the departments. And as a supporting function, I'm enabled to actually oversee their standard operating procedures, help them with developing policies, help them look after guest expectations and, customer feedback. And then again, the story of my transition as well, moving up the roles, it shows that the organization is actually giving you an opportunity to self-develop internally. I always say the grass is not always green on the other side. Well, if you have an opportunity to actually grow within the company in different roles, then why not? I've seen a lot of other people also self-develop here in Jebel Ali, who've worked for also close to 20 years. For many, that's a long period of time to be in the same organization, but I think there is a positive element to it.
Brilliant. And if we can just quickly go on to JA Hotels and Resorts.
JA Resorts and Hotels. Correct. There's always a confusion with that.
And you had it another name, when you arrived here first. So can you give us a bit of history on the group?
Well, JA Jebel Ali Golf Resort was the flagship property. We first started with JA Beach Hotel, which is the property that's actually located here. In 1981, when we opened doors to Jebel Ali Beach Hotel to our first guests. Then gradually we grew over the group, and we opened up JA Hartford Hotel. which is located in Hatta in Haja Mountains. There's a big focus and celebration right there at the moment with the year of the 50th. So it's a good opportunity for Hatta Fort also to be out there and be renowned. And then we slowly developed an open J Palm Tree Court, which are the villas, a chalet kind of concept here at J the Resort. And then we've slowly moved into the Indian Ocean properties, where we do have one in the Maldives called J Manafaru. And then we have one in Seychelles called Enchanted Island Resort. Over the period of time, we've also managed to get 2 properties as well, which is J Oasis Beach Tower along the walk, JBR. And in 2012, we also added J Ocean View Hotel, which is also located at JBR The Walk. So that brings the portfolio to about 9 properties, actually not also forgetting J The Manor. It's a management contract which we have also located at Al Farjan, a newest addition, very close to Expo site. And that brings the portfolio to about 9 properties.
Amazing. I'll have to get the friends and family rate for the Seychelles and Maldives.
Absolutely. Beautiful place for you to go and unwind. I would recommend not less than 3 nights.
Yeah.
The turquoise water and beautiful properties.
Certainly a dream. If we move on to your role, which quality assurance, business excellence, we've obviously had 2 unique years in the hospitality industry.
Correct.
And I think guests pre-March 2020 might have had a different idea on what quality assurance and business excellence means or meant to them then compared to what it means to them now. Can you give us, from your point of view, how that role has changed pre-COVID and post-COVID and what you've had to implement to the resort?
Well, I must say, given the experience that I have and with what I've also seen happening around the market, in most of the organizations, unfortunately, they had to let go of their quality and business excellence teams for obvious reasons in regards to, COVID took a very huge toll on revenue streams coming in for many of the hotels. They have been bleeding when it comes to making money. So one of the departments that was hit hard was quality. And I think basically for us here in J the Resort, the leadership really believes in quality, believes in business excellence, and believes in what we do here. So the focus for us was to actually make sure that we still maintain this department, because I don't know if I mentioned to you earlier that the structure for quality office here in J the Resort is around 4 pillars. So basically, the big 4 agenda for me for quality assurance office is focused around customer experience, mainly under quality management. So we are focused around guest feedback, both feedback while guests are in-house and post-stay, as you can imagine. We are also focused around food safety in terms of HACCP requirements, what we do in line with Dubai municipality guidelines. We are also focused around sustainability, which is the new passion that I've found. I really love this topic and I've been learning a lot and researching a lot. So there's a huge focus around sustainability in the whole world, as I must say, and also here in the resort, there's a focus around that, and brand standards and compliance. So the department is made in a way that we've structured 4 pillars. And the idea for us to focus around that, it would have been very, so I would say, not a good decision if the department was removed, because again, we do have to make sure that we maintain these 4 pillars in this particular resort. So for us, it was very important. And also not mentioning that we do have our J Sports Center and Shooting Club, which also has the ISO standards there, where we're looking after health and safety, occupational health and safety, and also environmental management systems. So there needs to be that balance where you have someone who still has an oversight in terms of auditing and making sure that there's compliance and there's continuous improvement in business.
And has that changed since COVID came? I know you had some of the IPL cricket teams here. Correct. When the IPL was in the region. And if I'm right, you sectioned them off in other parts of the hotel.
Correct.
And was that part of your role at all?
My role at that particular time was to ensure that we do have COVID guidelines written in place that would be adhered and followed to, strictly in line with the International Cricket Council requirements, and obviously with the India Premier League team requirements. So we had to formulate COVID guidelines that we as a resort, since we were fortunate enough to have this group staying with us, we'd had to make sure that they follow certain set of guidelines, that they stay within their bubbles. And you don't want any one of those team members to have any cross exposure with someone that might be COVID positive, so it would put the whole tournament in jeopardy. So for me, that was an area that we had to put the guidelines in place, and of course ensure that the teams are aware about it and it's documented, and also health and safety protocols. So it was very important during the cricket team and the Premier League team to ensure that those protocols are followed.
Yeah, no, listen, it was great to see it. Yeah. Am I right in saying this is Dubai's largest beach resort?
You're right in saying this is Dubai's largest experience resort.
Experience resort.
Yeah.
Define the difference for me.
Well, if you go around Dubai, you'll find a lot of resorts and hotels around, and you'll find them focused around different themes in terms of restaurants and in terms of entertainment. But for us here, what makes us very unique and very different is the fact that we do have a lot of experiences to offer guests. We sell ourselves as a destination, not only as a resort, but as a destination. This is a place where guests can come and stay with us and unwind and refuel and, not having to think of moving out of the resort and going into the hustle and bustle of the city. So for us, we are selling the experiences where you can see we have the equestrian center, we have the horses here. So there's swimming with the horses available here for guests. It's actually something that's doing very well with a lot of families. We have the JS Sports Center where we have football clubs coming in and football teams also coming in to stay with us, and they want to utilize the facilities, the FA certified fields and rugby teams as well. We do have the shooting club where you have the amazing, wonderful weapons from the pistol range to the clay pigeon. We also have the marina here as well. So if you have a boat somewhere and you want to come and park your boat here, and we have quite a lot of experiences, so to say. And the fact that the resort makes it a very unique place for a guest to stay, where you have over 25 outlets and restaurants to choose from. So you will not get bored of eating in the same restaurant, as opposed to staying in a city hotel where you have about 2 or 3 restaurants. So here you have an option, and we have opened up everything for all guests. So they have an option to also, go and experience the swimming pools over in Palm Tree Court, or if they want to use the swimming pools in JA Beach Hotel, or even if they want to use the swimming pools here in Lakeview, it's all open for all guests. We don't restrict that at all. So that makes it very unique, makes the experience very seamless, and that's what a lot of guests who want to just come and relax love about the resort.
No, listen, and it's beautiful. We're looking out here at the golf course now. Correct. But if you were to potentially look at, say, a city centre hotel that has just one building, everything in one place, potentially from like an operations perspective, slightly easier to manage. You've got a sprawling resort here, multiple hotels. What would you say the biggest challenges you might face in a day-to-day when it comes to operations?
Well, I believe the biggest challenge for us here is time, because we do try to block our times as much as we can and plan as much as we can. But the fact that, as you've clearly stated, that we are not a city hotel, we are not a box hotel where we can manage operations going up or down. This is a resort spread across 128 acres of land, and as you can imagine, we do have 3 properties in different locations of the resort. So reaching out to various departments, for example, you want to have a discussion with sales and market. You have sales and marketing, for instance, you have to move around the resort to a different property. You want to speak to finance office, you have to move around to a different part of the property. Then obviously, again, we have our guests who we also have to speak to every day. So it makes us very actively running around the resort, spread across this 128 acres. But the beauty about it is that at the end of it, it keeps us fit. So I must say, and we have the seamless caddy rides going around the resort. So again, it is a challenge in one way, but knowing that we also have close to 2,000 guests who would come to the resort on one given day when the occupancies are really high. So you can imagine time and trying to speak to all our regular guests who also, would want to have that conversations with us, being here for many years. They want to talk to you. They want to, express how the holidays are going well. So time factor is really limited. And as a hotelier, I must say, we work very lengthy hours. So time is the main challenge. But on a positive note, it keeps us very active and healthy, I must say.
Sometimes I miss working in hotels until you reminded me about the lengthy, unsociable hours.
Absolutely. The hours are not the best part of being a hotelier, indeed, I must say.
Yeah, because when everyone else is vacationing, you're working.
Correct, yes.
We'll move on to your favorite topic, I would say,
Okay.
sustainability. And I want to make sure I get this right, because I'm sure you're very proud of it, that Jade Resort was named Dubai's most sustainable resort.
Correct, you're right.
Which is an incredible milestone. So congratulations, firstly.
Thank you very much indeed. It was a team effort.
Yeah, no, listen,
all work together.
I can imagine. But I'd love, and listen, I know you're passionate about it, so we can take this part of the episode in any direction you want. But maybe first you can talk about the award, what you did to achieve it, and then maybe what your goals are long term for sustainability at the resort.
Well, I must say, sustainability for us has shifted and changed a lot from the culture where we used to call it corporate social responsibility, CSR. Well, it's not only a corporate social responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. So that's why we have educated and we have trained the team members to make sure that they think of it as sustainability on a whole. It's everyone's responsibility. I mean, I'm very excited of the fact that we had the opportunity to win Dubai's most sustainable 5-star resort. They gave us very stringent KPIs to meet. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of documentation to fill in. There's a lot of evidence to show and to submit to the judges, because there's a panel of experts who have to review and analyze the data you're giving and look at what you're submitting, if it's sufficient enough or if you're actually walking the talk. We are one of those resorts who actually don't say that we are doing A, B, C, D in terms of cleaning and planting trees, which we do very well. But for us, we started sustainability in 1981 when Jebel Ali Beach Hotel was first built. So we always tell our partners and anyone who's interested in knowing that sustainability started for us in 1981 when J Beach Hotel was opened, and when we first opened our first desalinization plant, the RO plant where we are doing reverse osmosis, fully ensuring that we are getting water from the sea and also actively using that water for a circular economy and using the water for the greenery of the resort. So we're actually achieving a circular economy. But going back to your question, in terms of the criteria, the KPIs that we had to fill, they had a lot of measures as well in terms of energy, in terms of air quality, in terms of what do we do for water, in terms of how do we handle our waste management, how are we doing our training practices and programs, how many green transportations do we have across the resort. So fortunately enough, we were ticking on most of the criterias because back in the day, a few years back, we had partnered with Green Globe. Green Globe is a company that also oversees sustainability and such kind of initiatives. So that gave us a base and a framework on how we could be able to document our documentation properly and keep track of anything that we do. Moving forward to 2022, we are actually very excited that the UAE has been named as a place where climate change conference COP28 will come. So we're excited about that, and the fact that UAE has also issued the UAE net zero by 2050. That gives us a framework and a base to work on implementing future strategies. And again, with us being the most sustainable 5-star resort, we believe that we will get a lot of traction from people who are interested to partner and stay in hotels which are actually sustainable. So we're excited about that, and the teams are actively working hard behind the scenes. I mean, I must stress that we do recognize these team members, because those who work very hard to make sure that the hotel is sustainable are those associates who are down there, making sure that we are recycling, making sure that we are doing the right thing every day. So for me, I always extend my thanks to the team and also my thanks to the leadership. But moving forward, the strategy is firm. We have to make sure that we maintain the Dubai's most sustainable 5-star award by making sure that all the criteria are still met and that we're still actively continuing to follow that and investing in future initiatives such as clean energy. We want to make sure that we also solidify our partnership with all the partners who work with us closely in terms of environment and any other initiatives.
Brilliant. And two more questions on this topic. The first is, if you look at, because I know you said you're passionate about it, and you said it's not corporate social responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility, and you said it with intent, I heard in your voice. So if you're looking at other, and we don't have to name anyone, but you're looking at the wider industry as a whole, do you see them taking it seriously? And if not, like, why should they? And what should they be doing?
I think at the moment, UAE is very firm, and Dubai as a government also is very firm in terms of organizations being sustainable. So right now, it's not just a discussion of if they will do it, it's a discussion of they must do it, because it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that we do the right thing. I must say Dubai government has laid a framework for us where they have issued 19 sustainable requirements for all hotel establishments. So there's already a framework there that all hotels have to follow these guidelines. So it's a question of how fast are they moving in terms of implementation, because you have to walk the talk. Implementation is where a lot of organizations fail. And I believe that we can put smart strategies out there, we can put all procedures out there, we can put frameworks out there, but if there's no proper implementation, no proper resources, and no leadership involvement, then we are doomed to fail. So for me, I always believe in the fact that if you want this sustainability to become something that will be embedded within your day-to-day practices, it has to start from bottom up. It has to start from those people who are working down there. They have to understand, first of all, what is it that they need to do right, what's in it for them, and what's in it for us. Because if they don't understand that, you can try and put all sorts of procedures out there from a high level down, but it will never work. And that's experience for me, because last 3 years I've been working here at the resort. We are actively working hard with the team members who are down there and bringing those ideas up here, and where we are getting a lot of support also from our leadership. So it's basically balancing out from bottom up and from top down. So it's again, at the end of the day, it's a triple bottom line business model that we always have to balance planet, people, and profit, and make sure that everyone is on board. And the beauty about what we have done recently is that we have developed an online training platform, which is called J Academy. Basically, we have developed our training models, and we have kept them in an online platform where team members can log in and simply watch the videos. And again, we have open classroom trainings where we are welcoming them in to come and know what's happening on a day-to-day basis.
You mentioned something there, planet, people, profit. Was that
correct? Triple bottom line.
So, like, I firmly believe if anyone is trying to make an impact, it's too fluffy to just say, I want to make an impact. We live in a capitalist environment, which is, without a doubt changed the world for the positive. Like, slavery is pretty much extinct, right? That's because we've moved into a capitalist environment. So I think there's been so many benefits. You have to incentivize businesses and people economically if you want impact to happen. It's just a fact,
Which is true,
people can want something innately, and it's a great way to live your life, but you have to incentivize people. So have you seen the bottom line, and maybe you can't go into it now, but have you seen areas where you think actually moving to a more sustainable way of doing things has actually increased profits or saved money, because that will incentivize owners and managers to make the move?
Well, it's a very nice question you've asked, and what a coincidence that today in the morning we were actually recognizing our green champions for doing the right thing. So one of the examples I give is waste management. So at the moment, I'm overseeing waste management for this resort, and it's a massive, massive operation. And I realized when we transitioned into a company called BIA, which are our partners in waste management, we wanted to make sure that we can upscale our recycling practices and increase the number of waste that is diverted from landfill and goes straight into these facilities where the waste is recycled. In order to achieve that, we had to do a lot of change back of house. A lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of the people who live in the UAE are multicultural. They come from different parts of the world with different ideologies, and you have to be able to speak to them, engage in conversations with them, show them why they need to recycle more. And out of that program, it's been blood, sweat, and tears. I can tell you for sure the last 2 years of us working on that. But we are actually achieving good results at the moment. What I can tell you we've done, for instance, is that we have removed all the bins in the back of house offices, those tiny little bins that used to be there. Everyone used to have a very bad practice of throwing all the waste there. So now we've invested in recycling bins. At the same time, to answer your question, we are incentivizing those associates who are helping us to recycle. So we are giving them, there's a monetary value out of it. Every month they get paid something. So they're happy about it.
But that's for the individuals who might be doing it. I'm talking about the hotel as an operating business and as a structure. Are there ways that you've seen over the last few years that actually you can either save money for the resort,
yes,
or increase revenue in ways? Because that's what, like, if it's a hotel owner today listening or a hotel manager,
correct,
and they're looking at, they're under the cush to deliver financial results for their owners or for the franchise, whatever the structure is. Do you see sustainability, apart from being, potentially everyone's for the greater good of the planet, we should do it. But are there also ways that there's a monetary positive to it?
In my experience, I think being here for the last 12 years, as I said, but mainly involved with sustainability for the last 3 years, I must say it's not only a return on investment, but it's a social return on investment. So what are we doing right? But at the same time, you will recover your money towards a longer period of time than expected. For example, here in the resort, we have implemented our centralized water bottling plant, where we are actually supplying our own water from the sea. So we are not buying water from those companies that we used to buy. First of all, we were doing the wrong thing by buying plastic bottles. Now we have transitioned into glass bottles and now we're giving water for free to guests.
And for anyone watching, I'm drinking the water. If you're listening,
the J-branded water.
But so this water came from the sea.
Yes.
And it's gone through a plant here on the resort?
Correct. So basically what we've done is that we have our RO plant, our desalination plant here. So we take the water from the sea. It goes through reverse osmosis. We remove all the residue. The water is treated in line with all the parameters and requirements. Then the water goes into a centralized water bottling plant. It goes into some water storage tanks, and then because of the weather here in UAE, it can get really hot. So we have heat exchangers where we cool down the water. And then through a technology called, through a partnership we have with Trust Your Water, we have a technology where they're now looking at, it actually now removes all the minerals, the bacteria, then goes into the centralized bottling plant. Then we have our own facility where now we produce water, and we can produce up until 2,000, 2,500 bottles in a day, depending on occupancy. And this is a win-win for us as a company and a win-win for guests. Water can be very expensive in this part of the region, and so I can say this is an ROI in the long term. So this is the right move. At the same time, we are looking at options in terms of waste, food waste, which is big, it's massive. I believe 60% of waste coming from the property is actually food waste. Yeah. So we are looking at alternatives where we can get a compost machine so that we can close the loop, and all the food that is brought out from the buffets can go into the compost machine, and then we can use that compost waste again back in the greenery of the resort. And these are solutions that we're looking into. And at the moment, we also have partnered with Wino Solutions. We are actually forecasting our food waste, and we have seen a significant amount of reduction on how the team members from the kitchen team are actually producing food for the next day, because we have the numbers. We can focus better if it's in regards to reducing scrambled eggs or one kind of dish. We can now know through the numbers. So it's working. It's working.
It's a great point. The water tastes great, but I remember when I worked in the breakfast buffets, you'd throw out half of the food, every morning.
Correct. Yes.
Last question before we move into a bit of a fun round.
Right.
Hotels are about guests, ultimately. We don't exist as hoteliers without our guests. Yeah. Do you believe guests choose the resort because of the sustainability? And do you think because of movements, like Greta Thunberg are doing and many others, do you think it'll actually become a USP of yours in the future, if not already today, to actually increase revenue from bookings?
I firmly believe that it's already a unique selling point for us, because I've seen a lot of people reaching out directly to us here in the resort, saying that, oh, we actually went online and we found that your hotel is the most sustainable resort. We want to bring in a group of, we want to bring in a workshop, and we want to have a sort of an event. And you have those guests who are coming from Europe, for example. They're very passionate about sustainability, and we do see traction. We do see people coming in asking if you're actually sustainable or not. And given the fact that my department or my team usually handles the guest feedback, we are reviewing all those comments, and we see a lot of guests talking about, how we have removed all the plastic straws. They talk about how we are having our glass bottles. They talk about how we are doing the recycling program in the rooms. When we used to have small conditioners in the rooms and shampoos, those were all single-use plastics. We have removed them. Now we have wall brackets whereby we can now use shampoos on the walls. So a lot of people are becoming very, very passionate about it and attached to this particular conversation. In the future, like I said, with COP28 coming into the UAE, I believe delegations, countries will be looking for hotels which are sustainable. Hotels who are actually doing, walking the talk. Hotels who have actually removed plastic bottles. Hotels who are actually not having straws. Yeah, why would a country come into COP28 and then stay in a hotel that they're using all this single-use plastic? It's very controversial, and I believe it's going to be very critical and very sensitive with how delegations and countries select as to where they're going to stay.
So you can ultimately, it'll nearly end up being peer pressure, right? Guests will be telling you, why have you got single-use plastics? Correct. Are you not doing your bit?
And they talk a lot, even here at the resort. A lot of guests talk to each other, and funny enough, it's a way that has brought a lot of people to me, and has built my network also, because a lot of guests reach out later and they say, hey, I am actually looking after so-and-so particular area of, this is what I do, and this is why I want to reach out to you. And because I've stayed in your hotel, I've seen that you have, for example, JF flasks for associates, and I love them. I bought for my children. And, I want to partner with you. We want to hear what you're doing. And there's a lot of people coming here to the resort to learn and find out what we're doing, because I've even received a comment where we have been told we are like a small country, fully sustainable. We have our own a centralized cooling plant, for instance. The AC in the whole of this resort is centralized, not as opposed to split AC units where, again, carbon emission. So I think moving forward, it will be very interesting to see how organizations transition in towards investing in sustainable practices, because at the end of the day, it's going to come down from government and regulation. Once regulation is set, I believe organizations will be running last minute to make sure that they are actually meeting these requirements. Well, so it's better to start early.
Samuel, congrats to you and to the team, because I know it's a team effort. It's amazing to see. Really, honestly, congrats. A bit of fun to end.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you
I love the fun part.
Yeah, it's just a bit of fun. And I'm going to give you two options on each. Mm-hmm. Just answer as you feel. So holiday-wise, sun or snow?
Wow. I don't like cold. So I believe sun. I'd go for sun. Anytime out.
You're working in a resort, but maybe it's not your go-to for holidays. City or resort?
Resort, definitely. Anytime.
All inclusive?
All inclusive. All in.
COVID, I think 2 weeks ago I was able to ask this question. I was going to say COVID is gone or is going. And obviously, Europe is giving us a rebound. When it is gone, is there anywhere on your bucket list of a place to visit? And I'll help you out. Mine is Japan. So I really want to go for a trip to Japan.
They've just closed down the borders.
I know. So when COVID's gone, is there a place you'd like to get on a plane and go and experience?
Well, for me, I've always wanted to visit the United States of America and start with visiting family first. But of course, the Big Apple is a place that I really want to visit. But looking at how things are moving on at this particular moment in time, I think the quickest and easiest for me that I would be expecting or willing to actually hop on a flight and visit is Bali. So I'm waiting for Indonesia to actually open up, and I'd love to be there. I'd love to go down to Bali, visit Southeast Asia, maybe do a round trip. And if Singapore is open and Malaysia, I'd love to also visit them on that particular trip. So Southeast Asia for me is a place that I would love to. But I mean, ultimately, New York, US.
Yeah, I was just there last week, so it was
You're
brilliant.
fortunate enough.
Final question. Might be a tricky one, but and it can be a personal hotel that you've not visited, but it's been on your bucket list and you can't wait to go visit this hotel for whatever reason. Or I'll help you out. It's a hotel, and it can't be Jada Resort, but another hotel or group that you look at and you commend for their work when it comes to sustainability, and you go, they're a great partner to look at.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a very good question. Because I can tell you a lot of hotels are doing different things in terms of sustainability, but it can only be measured by how much have they invested, first of all, and what practices have they put in place in terms of reducing single-use plastic, for instance. So there's a lot of indicators to measure how sustainable a hotel could be. But for me, I think one of the hotels that I'd love to visit and find out the story around their sustainability is Al Maher Desert Resort, Al Maher Desert Resort, which is in the middle of the desert, because it's been ranked the most sustainable in Dubai. So I'd love to go visit there and see what they do. But obviously, because of the fact that they're in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know how much of waste they would get, but I would love to visit that place. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Samuel, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me. It was really a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.